Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power Session. Excited to be here with you on this totally normal, totally regular, nothing significant happening today, November 3rd, Tuesday. We're not going to say any hot words or buzzwords because Facebook's got a lot of interesting things going on right now, and we would like to make sure that as many of you as possible can see this. My producer is smacking her face right now, going, "What are you doing?" No, it's been really interesting. There's obviously a lot going on in the world right now, and a lot of people vying for a lot of people's attention. I have purposely am participating in the process, certainly dropping this off right after this session, but not participating in the energy. Got people to serve, things to do. It is business as usual at Habit Finder. Very excited to be spending this time with you today. We're going to be talking about attitude. And we're going to be talking about some alternatives to attitude. If you saw from the title of today's session, it is always trying to provoke attention, always trying to disrupt patterns. So hopefully our titles do not offend, but certainly get people's attention. And today's title was Attitude is Overrated. Was studying some really significant literature the last couple of weeks that just gave some tremendous insight on the limitations of attitude. Not that attitude is bad. That's not what I said. But the attitude is overrated. So excited to be with you today, excited to give you some things you can take with you to change your perspective, hopefully shift some awareness, and give you an opportunity to take slightly more intentional action from here on out. We focus on a couple of things here at Habit Finder. Number one is to unpack your mindset, to unpack your life, because it is only in being able to unpack, it is only in being able to unhoard our minds and our lives and our priorities and our confusions and our desires and our secret desires and everything else that we can finally start to intentionally create our lives. So I hope to give you a few things to unpack today to be able to more intentionally create the life that you want. So let's jump into this power session and let's get started. One of these days, my show producer is going to stop that video right in the middle of me dancing in my office as it's just having fun with it. We want to make sure we have an opportunity to provide energy to you on a Tuesday, giving you an opportunity to come back from Monday where we may have been catching up from the weekend, getting back into things, and being able to be a little bit more intentional, a little bit more focused in what we're doing. And that's what I hope to be able to provide to you here today in this power session. We are here every Tuesday. An opportunity to give you something to grab onto, to think about your life a little bit differently. One of the core values of Habit Finder is disruptive innovation, which means we've got to disrupt first. It is very difficult to find truth that will guide us because in our lives, when we find a new truth, there's an old one that kind of has to die. We have to kind of shake it off because it no longer serves us. It's no longer true for us. But as we're going through this, we want to make sure we've got outside perspective. We want to make sure that we are challenging our own reality. Those of you who have been on the power sessions before know that we stress that your reality is not the reality. And the reality we're talking about today, whether it's yours or the reality, is the reality of attitudes. Attitude is a really interesting piece. Okay, traditionally, the root of the word attitude just comes from posture. Attitude is a posture. It is how we hold ourselves. Now, whether we're talking about our physical posture and the attitude that naturally evokes, you talk to body language experts and people who deal with the physicality of our psychology, and there's a lot of power that comes from the posture that we hold. Even just right now, where you're sitting, if you just sit up, take a big deep breath and feel your frame and really own it, there is an impact on your energy. There's an impact on the way you talk. There's an impact on how your mirror neurons are going to interact with other people's mirror neurons and how you can connect with them. Attitude is fantastic in terms of this posture and in terms of how we feel ourselves and the confidence that we want to commit to in what we do. Attitude is a tremendous fuel to be able to allow us to make the most of where we're currently at. But therein lies the limitation of attitude. Now, in most cases, attitude is driven by awareness. When we become more aware of something that we're thinking or something that we're doing that isn't serving us, we will often go after our attitude. If I can improve my attitude, then I'll feel better about the challenges I'm currently experiencing. If I can improve my attitude, I'll be able to do what I'm doing a little bit longer. These are all tremendous benefits of attitude, but they are contained within the existing realm of your limitations, which means you are infinite. Okay? As a human being, we know mathematically that you are infinite, meaning the more you learn about you, the more there is to learn about you. There's no box. There's no one identity. There's no one personality type. There's no one thing that sums you up. And in fact, at Habit Finder, we spend less time trying to teach you what to do and more time exposing who you already are so that you can do what you already know. There's so many of us trying to make this so much more complicated, so much more about the other than mentality. So other than these simple steps, how do I become successful? Other than eating right and moving more, how do I become healthier? You know, we look for these other thans, and oftentimes we will resort at a more elevated state to have a good attitude. I am not here to poo-poo on a good attitude. I think having a good attitude is great. I think that's a phenomenal thing to consider when you want to make the shifts and the alterations within where you're currently operating. But again, that's the challenge. If you can't keep hearing it, we've got our current arena that is the current assessment of who we are, how much of our real, genuine, authentic self we have gained access to on a regular basis. That's our habits. That's what habits are. Habits are the walls of this arena. Whatever the limits of our habits are is the limits of our access to who we are. But remember, that's just access. That's not who we are. It would serve you very well to understand the difference between who you are and who you have access to when it comes to you. Because we know, again, I'm going in circles here because I want to make sure you understand this, that who you are is infinite, goes on forever. That's why we want to be really, really careful with I am statements. I am, whatever comes after that, you're going to want to be open-ended and be able to lead you to more potential. Because if it puts you in a box, you just created another compartment to be able to contain your potential, your awareness, all in the name of trying to dictate your own reality so that your brain can keep you predictable. The tighter the arena, the more predictable you can be. So the brain wants to keep your potential on tap, wants to keep you contained because that makes you more predictable. And attitude is about making the most of that predictability. It's about making the most of those current limitations. So that's way better than having a bad attitude. We want to have a good attitude to maximize that, but we don't want to confuse that with growth. We don't want to confuse that with becoming more. Because a good attitude does not teach you more about who you are. A good attitude does not challenge you, does not disrupt you, does not allow you to see the things that you had made assumptions about that weren't actually true. An attitude just allows you to sustain where you're currently at optimal conditions, which is awesome. Make the most of where you are, but understand that attitude doesn't get you to where you want to be. Attitude makes the most of where you are. That's what I'm trying to say. It is super valuable. I'm not ragging on attitude, but it makes the most of where you are, not gets you where you want to be. What gets you where you want to be are tools. Tools get you where you want to be. And tools are not tools without action. I've just got a chunk of metal with some rubber around it, but if I put action to it, it becomes a hammer. Okay, I can have a big 2-ton piece of metal with rubber wheels and whatever, but with action, it becomes a vehicle. It can get me places. Okay, so think about any tools that you use in physical labor, or any tools you use in art, or any tools you use for anything. It's just a piece of wood with chemicals mixed in certain ways so that the properties suspend certain colors, but with action, it becomes paint. It becomes creation. It becomes a picture. action and tools all going synonymously, because tools require action to be tools. Otherwise, they're just things. Tools require action to be tools. Otherwise, they're just things. So we want to have tools to expand our horizons, to become more. Now, is it going to help you to be able to have the capacity to find tools and to be able to use those tools if you have a better attitude? Yes, 100%. Work on your attitude. It's going to impact your energy. It's going to impact your stability. It's going to impact your desire to be able to show up. And then we can find tools to expand, tools to become more. That's what we want to focus on. Otherwise, we're stuck in this endless hamster wheel of becoming more aware and changing our attitude. And then our attitude changes, and then we become more aware. And then we change our attitude, and then we stop changing our attitude, and then we become more aware, and we just go around and around and around and around. Again, don't go, oh, yeah, he's totally right. I don't want to be stuck in that, so screw attitude. No. Again, I'm not saying attitude is bad. I'm just saying attitude doesn't do what most people think that it can. You can't good attitude yourself to infinite growth. Good attitude creates an environment to be able to grow, okay? It allows you to be able to actually see where you currently are. And if you can't see where you currently are, if you can't embrace where you currently are, then tools are just going to violate your ignorance. Tools are going to violate the misalignment from where you think you are to where you actually are, and that's going to be frustrating. We're going to dismiss the tool. That didn't work for me. That system didn't work for me. That suggestion that my coach gave me didn't work for me. Well, it didn't work for you not because of you. It worked for you because you weren't clear about where you currently are. And if we are pretending intentionally or unintentionally about where we are, but we're actually here, it's like calling an Uber and lying about where you are, except in a lot of cases, it's lying unintentionally. We'd like to believe we're here, but we're actually here. And so the Uber driver shows up where we wish we were rather than where we actually are. And then we don't get an opportunity to get in the vehicle and actually go where we want to go. And that vehicle is tools. And tools, again, require action for them to be tools. Otherwise, they're just things. Okay? Are people getting this? Okay? I know a couple people at first were like, yeah. I want to set the foundation. Then I'm going to give you 3 of the most important tools that you can have right now in this season, in this time, if you're looking to grow. 3 really powerful tools, 3 of the most powerful tools you can have to be able to expand your own limitations rather than just make the most of where you currently are. Now, there are seasons in life where it is a tremendous victory to just have a good attitude and get through where you currently are, get through your current limitations. But the challenge is when we do that well, we want to believe that we just need to do more of it and we're going to grow. No, that's like seeing a sandstorm coming and hiding under a tent for shelter and then getting out from under the tent after the sandstorm passed and expecting to be in a different place than when you hunkered down. I would hope that you're in that tent with a good attitude, because otherwise it's going to feel like a lot longer than it needs to. It's going to take tremendous tolls and make a whole lot of challenges that you don't need to be dealing with, okay? But it's not traveling. It's not actually going somewhere new. And there are times in your life where you don't need to go somewhere. You need to make the most of where you currently are. There are times that life is firing stuff at you and pulling the rug out from under you. And the best you can do in those moments is to have a great attitude. And as you use that great attitude to weather the storm, I want you to get clearer and clearer as when the storm is over, it's time to use tools. It's time to grow a little bit more. In fact, it is sometimes in using the tools that creates the storm. You've got a brain that wants to keep you where you are. So if you start to travel outside the city walls, it's going to do anything it can to make that seem really dangerous. In fact, it just hit me. Your brain is just like the Truman Show. Okay, it's trying to plan everything out for you. It's trying to control as many variables as possible so it's as predictable as possible. And if it needs to make the water seem like death and scary horror, it's going to do that to prevent you from expanding your current potential, because that could be unpredictable, at least to a all or nothing binary on-off life-death core operating system in your brain. Thank you. I just saw Beth's comment. Thank you. To honor that is super important. To be clear, I'm in a storm right now. It's important that I hunker down. Sometimes we're going to hunker down in a storm and realize we may not have had all the supplies we wanted to have to be able to get through the storm. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable as much as your carnal brain wants you to isolate in that storm. But we're going to learn so many things if we have the capacity to be available to learn. When Alice fell through the rabbit hole, which many of us have had that experience in life, we were just kind of peeking over at a goal or something we were hoping to accomplish, and then whoop, all of a sudden we slipped in, okay, and we're freaking out with what's going on with my life. Why can't I find balance? I'm confused. So much is coming at me. What's going on? And the tendency for the human condition is to close our eyes and clench, to isolate. We do this physically, and we do this metaphysically. We do this emotionally. We do this spiritually. We want to isolate and clench and keep ourselves safe, when some of the most beautiful lessons in the world are written on the walls of that hole you're falling into. Some of the most incredible things that you'll understand about yourself are as you're falling into some of those holes in life, as you're hiding in the tent or taking shelter, I should say, in the tent for the sandstorm. And Beth, as you're in this place, I would give you the same counsel that my father gave me in one of the darkest, most difficult storms I've ever been through in my life, when he said, Paul, go through it with your eyes wide open. It's counterintuitive. Our desire is to close and isolate and to, not bother anyone else with our darkness and our difficulty and our depression, which just makes it worse. Open your eyes. You'll realize there are people hunkered down with you. There are people waiting to serve you. There are people who are able to get things to you even in the storm, if you allow them to and if you'll pay attention. There are things to learn about you, and a great attitude, a better attitude anyway, allows us to open our eyes, allows us to go through those experiences more productively. But then when we get on the other side of the storm, remember it's time to deploy tools. Now, if any of you are in a storm because you deployed too many tools, you tried to grow too fast, tried to do too many things, it's an opportunity to understand that when you come out of this storm, it's time to just take it one step at a time. Step outside the city walls a little bit and then look around, assess your surroundings. You're not used to the environment you're now in, so give yourself an opportunity to get used to it. And if you do that and you build the habits that allow you to stand where you are now, further beyond the limits or the borders of your previous potential, you'll learn to develop habits, and where you stand will become the new border. It will become the new city wall. And then you'll make the most of that, have a great attitude about that, and then you'll step further and create habits, create foundations, and the city walls will extend. The borders of your potential will extend. That should be done consistently. That should be done sensitively. That should be done with a tremendous awareness of what you're doing and without the desire to drive harder and force our potential. That creates more storms in our life than just about anything else, is when we try to force our potential, and even more when we try to force other people's potential, which then exposes our force of our own and makes it even more difficult to deal with. So, all right, a little philosophical, and by a little I mean a lot, and I get it. Let's talk about tools, the 3 tools that I want you to take away from today's power session to be able to help you expand the borders of your potential, to be able to help you move beyond when you're ready, right, Beth? When you're ready, whether it's a couple days from now, a few hours from now, or a week or 2 from now, when you're ready to take the first step out from the city walls that you batten down the hatches and are getting through this storm, these are the 3 tools that I'd like people to consider for being able to move forward and expand their horizons, if you will, to be able to create a greater access to who you are. And with that said, the first tool that I think is one of the most powerful tools that you can have on a regular basis in your life, number 1 is tough conversations. Tough conversations is one of the greatest tools that you can have. And it is very important to be able to have tough conversations, to be able to have people in your life that you can have tough conversations with. These are people who love you, but not love you because you please them, not because you have everything in common, but they love you because they want to see you clearly. And you want to see them clearly, which means there's going to be more of them to see every day. Some of you would love for this person to be your spouse, but we already summed up our spouse and put them in a box. We already figured them out, which violates their infinite potential, which when we've got them all figured out and mapped out and evaluated, we miss the opportunity to have tougher conversations that would expand our understanding of them and in lockstep expand their understanding of us. So it might be a spouse if we're willing to surrender the construct that we think we've already created of who they are and how they're going to react and what they think. And then some of us will venture and be like, okay, I see what Paul's saying. I should go give them a different chance. I should go into conversations without those same expectations. And we go and dip our toe in the water. And the first sign of confirming that box we already created for them, we turn around and go, see, yep, I told you. That's exactly what I expected. I knew it. And we'll even finish the conversation. But no, don't be surprised if it takes several conversations, if it takes more listening, more awkward silence, better questions to be able to even allow them to feel like they can come out of the box you put them in. Okay, a lot of how we interact with other people is how we interact with other people. We think we totally get them, but we're dictating so much of that by what we're bringing to the marketplace, as Augmandino would say. And tough conversations allows us to disrupt what we've believed about other people and what we've believed about ourselves. Someone says something that offends you, I sure hope that your instinct is not to go, I'm offended. Okay? Because that is a total limitation. That is an isolating, clenching down, fight or flight response. I can't believe they said that. A more enlightened tool would be to go, I wonder why I can't believe that they said that. What is it about me that was offended by that? What is going on inside of me that's creating this reaction? What could I learn about me in this tough conversation? Another reason it's important to have them with people who want to see you clearly and who you want to see clearly. Because if they're just out to try and cause pain, if they're out just to try and tear you down so they feel more superior, those are not people to have tough conversations with, although you cannot avoid them. So you might as well open your eyes in that rabbit hole and learn some incredible lessons in the process, but do not seek them out. They will likely come across your path, but you don't need to seek them out. And we'll want to go through them with our eyes wide open. So number one is tough conversations. Are you having tough conversations? And if you're having tough conversations with soft people, it's just recreation. It's not actually going to change your concepts. It's actually not going to disrupt things. You want to have tough conversations with people who have your best interest in mind and their own, and are willing to show up as an expansion of themselves to be able to help you do the same. And sometimes that's going to create some bumpy, sticky conversations, but stay in them. One of the biggest things that robs us of the value of tough conversations is they end prematurely. Say that again because it's critical. One of the biggest things that robs us of the benefits of tough conversations is we end them prematurely. We get into the growth part of it, like lifting weights. Hopefully all of you have experienced this. You've been in the gym working out and you hit that point where you're like, oh my gosh, this is starting to get tough. But you continue. You keep going. Okay? You keep challenging yourself to open up what you're doing. Hang on, I got to turn my camera back on. There we go. Sorry, having some memory function on my computer. You get to that point where it's like, wow, this is getting really hard. This is really burning. I'm really feeling this, or we're doing some air squats or some wall sits. And when we're in tough conversations, the instinct is to go abort, get out. Just like your part of your brain when you're working out is telling you this hurts, stop. But we start to learn a little bit more about our limitations. We start to learn that what we're experiencing is eustress, which is positive stress. It helps us get stronger. And what we need to learn, though, with the help of trainers and programs, is to make sure that we don't go too far over the line into distress, because that's where we will destruct ourselves. That's where we will create injury and all kinds of other problems. It's the same thing with tough conversations. Go into them and don't feel the burn and be like, oh, abort, get out. We got to end. This is bad. Continue to move through it. Have good posture, good attitude, good perspective. Be there for the right reasons. Do your best to not be there for some kind of emotional vendetta or reaction, but more an opportunity to interact with two people that are willing to show up transparently, safe, open, to have tough conversations. Those are the tough conversations I'm talking about. Those are the tools, and the people that are closest to you are some of the best people to start with in learning how to have tough conversations. And that's two to tango. It can't just be, I want to have tough conversations. Let's figure this out. We've got to create a place where they will want to do the same, and to make sure that at the end of the conversation, we're able to take an accounting of the progress. What concepts did we challenge? What things did we learn from this about each other and about ourselves? Those are the tool of tough conversations. Okay. Number two is a battle cry. A battle cry is one of the greatest tools that you can have in life. Okay. A great friend of mine and mentor, Jason Cisneros, his is simply this, just, yeah, like he'll just, it's just something physical, just a gorilla bump to the chest. It's his battle cry. It's an opportunity to connect to his physicality, to connect to a higher space of energy. In our coaching program, we teach a tomahawk, okay, a vertical to horizontal chop, okay, that you are using to be able to evoke something, to be able to designate a higher level of energy that you choose to bring to what you're currently focused on, or to deny a distraction that could take you out of the space of your progression. The tomahawk is, I'm not going there. I'm staying in creation. And it should be physical, okay? It should be something you can feel. Some of you might have affirmations. These should be emotionally provoking affirmations. Find something for you that can help you tap into a higher power. Okay, when I got into powerlifting, before I started powerlifting, I used to giggle at the guys in the gym who made a lot of noise, until I started lifting 600-700 pounds of weight in different lifts. And then I found out why they make that noise. They are calling upon something within themselves that they don't feel like they can access until they battle cry, until they bring something into it that allows them to tap into something higher than themselves. A battle cry is an incredible way to get out of a disruptive survival pattern and tap into a higher force. It is better than it is a upgrade to just a good attitude. We have a good attitude to be able to make the most of where we are, to get our feet planted, and then find your battle cry. Find something that connects to you. Another one that we teach in our coaching program is I want to, I get to, I choose to, I will command, and I will obey my own command. I dare you to say that out loud when you're procrastinating, when you're putting something off. I dare you to stand up and say, I want to, and be thinking of what you're trying to put off. Be thinking of what you're confused about. Be thinking of what you're overanalyzing, whether it's a Facebook Live that you've been putting off, or a conversation with someone that you've been putting off, or a project that you just need to get done, or simple little things. Stand up right now and say, I want to, I get to, I choose to, I command, and I will obey my own command. I dare you to try and do that out loud and not go do something, not feel some uptick of energy. Now, here's an interesting thing about a tool. And Og Mandino made reference to a tool like this in the 10 scrolls. Okay, he talked about how in scroll 3, I will persist until I succeed, that childish swipes can fell any tree. You've got a tool like a hatchet or an axe. Okay, don't assume that a tool is a one-hit wonder. Don't assume you've got a good tool, so all you have to do is use it and take one swing, and the tree should fall. Same thing with a battle cry. Don't assume that you just need to say it once. You may even feel some temptations coming on or some bad patterns, and you say yours, your affirmation, your battle cry, or just your physical response, and you feel an uptick, but it's still not enough to overcome. Well, that's okay. Do it again. And keep doing it until you take the action and follow through on the tool that gives you access to a higher power. Because before you do it, it's going to feel like it will deplete you. It's going to feel like getting that done, zeroing in on that, and getting that done is going to take away from your energy. But you use the tool to tap into a higher energy. And when you get on the other side, you go, wow, I got it done. And I feel even better than I did before. Even though I was playing out all these scenarios of how exhausting it was going to be and how tough it was going to be and all this different stuff. For most things in your life day to day, A battle cry can get you into action, and you will feel better afterwards than you did before. Even though your brain's trying to convince you that you don't feel good now. So if you go and do something, you're going to feel even worse. How many of you have ever not felt like going and getting your exercise done, but then you got it done and you had way more energy for the rest of the day? That's what we're talking about. We're trying to tap into that, not just with exercise, but with what we do in our business and what we're trying to create, okay? So, and I want to share this with you, okay? This is why battle cries are such a powerful tool. This is why, and I say battle cry because I think affirmations are great, but I think they need to be emotionally charged if they're going to expand your potential. So that's why I prefer to call them a battle cry. And that can be a battle act. That can be, like a football team getting together. You read, battle cries are often not articulate. They don't have to be flowery or romantic in their language. They can be very simple and very powerful. It can be, I got this. It could be, bring it on. Like, be envisioning what's holding you back and just turn it into this cloud where you're just like, bring it on. And you walk right in. And then imagine yourself going out the other end and just being like, wow, I feel so good. That's awesome. That's a tool. That's a tool. But I read this online. This was a definition of a battle cry. Here's why it's so powerful. You ready for this? A battle cry overstates one's own aggressive potential to a point where the enemy prefers to avoid confrontation. Whew, I love that. Okay. I want you to think of your enemy, whether it's procrastination, addiction, whether it's confusion, depression, anxiety, whatever it is. I want you to think of that, and I want you to imagine your battle cry, because it should be yours. Whatever it is, it could be an action, could be a statement, could be something you do, but I highly recommend it is physical, it is out loud, and it is something that brings you into a different state, combining those two things. But it is to overstate one's own aggressive potential to a point where the enemy prefers to avoid confrontation. Can you imagine the enemy of your sabotaging habits going, never mind, sorry, go ahead, proceed with creating your dreams, proceed with taking the next baby steps that are going to create your success. That's the kind of battle cry we're looking for. Number 3, the third goal, or the third tool, is goals and dreams. And I put those together because they go together. We set goals in our business to be able to fund dreams in our life. They are in lockstep. They are both required. If you have dreams without goals, you don't have dreams. You're never going to be able to create them, at least. And if you have goals without dreams, you just have boring, mundane, repetitious tasks. That, as excited and battle cry as you get, they're going to, the repetitive nature, the tediousness is going to wear you down. And you may feel awesome right now. You may feel excited right now, but without a dream to draw that passion out, to be able to create something worth suffering for, to be able to have direction and to be able to find joy in the journey, it's going to be a limited space. So the third tool is goals and dreams. So we want to be setting goals. Focus on a couple of simple goals that, when accomplished, highly recommend you consider them for the next 90 days first. What are 2 or 3 goals you could accomplish in the next 90 days? And what's the dream that's going to fund? Say, okay, over the last several years, leadership and dreams have become way more than they ever needed to be. Leadership becomes this superior persona, and people lose the fact that you decided to get out of bed today means you're a leader of your own life. And that qualifies you to go potentially lead others, depending on your position of influence or those you have to share content with on social media or in your family or whatever it might be. Leadership should not be this almighty presence. Leadership should be the willingness to connect with other people, to inspire them to be the best version of themselves. And that can be simple. That can be beautiful. If you ever watched Lollipop Leadership on TED.com, it sums up exactly what I'm talking about. But set a couple of simple goals, because that's what's happened is our dreams have needed to be more elaborate and leadership's become more elaborate. No, a dream could be something really simple. A dream could be going to a movie in the middle of the day. Okay. It could be not making your own coffee for a week and going to Starbucks for an entire week, even though you stopped because you were saving money. It could be more like, it could be a car you drive. It could be a vacation you take, but it's not what it is or how much it costs. It's what it does to you. So find something simple in the next 90 days that if you hit these couple of goals in your business, you could fund that dream. And use this tool as often as possible. Check in with the dream. Check in with the goals. These should be something that we check in with frequently because these are powerful tools to be able to direct our action, to be able to direct, as with the battle cry, our overstated potential so that our enemy chooses not to confront us as we power through to becoming more of who we already are. We start looking as problems, not as problems that we need to figure out why we have that problem. We start to look at problems as catalysts to find the piece of ourselves that we haven't gotten access to yet, that problem is acting as a mirror to get us to reflect and consider what that power is within us that we haven't accessed yet. And if we continue to run into the same types of problems in our life, then it may be because we're not really accessing that part of who we are that is going to serve us long-term beyond this problem. So again, as we take this life on, as we look to create more, remember these 3 tools. And remember, the first time you pick up a tool, you're not amazing at it. Okay, I remember the first time I started helping my dad with carpentry and remodeling our house, and I wasn't great at swinging a hammer. I hurt a lot of fingers. Okay, I wasn't great at how to use the drill and the chop saw and whatever else. You learn these things through use, with direction and mentorship, with coaching. All coaching is there to do is to help you be able to learn what tools are there and how to use them better, faster. But the coaching is not the tool, okay? That's just an opportunity to be able to find the tools that are right for you and be able to learn to use them as quickly as possible. So don't run out there and think, oh yeah, Paul said tough conversations, battle cry, goals and dreams, I got this, and think that you're going to totally jump on that bike and ride it, no problem. No, start using them, but be ready to be a little wobbly. Be ready for it to not work the first few times, but keep at it. These are 3 amazing tools that can help you so much in your life and in your business. Learn how to have more and more tough conversations. And sometimes you've disguised tough conversations as a bad conversation just to give you an excuse to bail on it. But we're not going to bail on them anymore, remember? Where we lose the value of a tough conversation is ending it prematurely. Find your battle cry, something physical, something out loud that you can do when you need it most. But don't assume that just because you do it, you're going to go right into battle mode. You might need to do it a few times. You might need to do it a few times through a couple of days or even a week until you finally do it and go, now it's clicked. And then number 3, your goals and your dreams. Set goals, keep them simple so they fund a dream. Do that in 30 to 90 day increments. Then you'll be able to learn how to do it in 6 months. Then you'll be able to learn how to do it in a year. Then you'll learn how to do it in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Don't set out to go, here's my goals that are going to fund this dream in 5 years. If you haven't been able to prove you can set goals in 30 to 90 days and fund little dreams. Doesn't matter how big of a carrot you have out there. If you're not developing an appetite for carrots, it's going to lose its luster. It's going to be more torture than inspiring. So start smaller and drive this all into the mission of your life. Mission of ours is, again, to help you unpack up here so you can start intentionally creating out there. Hopefully you got an opportunity to grab onto a few things today to help you do that a little bit better, to consider some things just a little bit differently. You'll notice we say little bit a lot because your brain doesn't respond well to a lot of growth. It responds to a little bit of intentional growth, baby steps, millimeters, because then it will actually support it rather than resist it and fight it. And when it supports it, we do it more often. When we do it more often, it becomes a habit. When it becomes a habit, you are unstoppable. Thanks for being here today. Have an incredible Tuesday. Wish you all safety and blessings and great energy today, and look forward to being back with you a week from now. Take care.